Rob, you want to take the lead on this story with a PA official reverses suicide ruling for a woman with 20 stab wounds previously upheld by Democrat Josh Shapiro. What's the story about?
Yeah, so this teacher, Ellen Greenberg, was found dead in her Philadelphia apartment back in 2011, and her family has been fighting the state of Pennsylvania to have the case reopened. The medical examiner in the case ruled that the death of Ellen Greenberg was a murder. However, he then met with the police and the district attorney, who at the time overseeing that case was Josh Shapiro, and that ruling was overturned, and she was listed as the cause of her death as suicide. But we have some images, and I'll pull those up.
Please show this. So it was, remember, initially they were like, oh yeah, homicide 100%. Then how long, Rob? A week or 2 weeks? Or
I'm not sure about the
changed it.
Timeline.
They changed it. They go, no, she killed herself. And this, look, just really fast, you guys tell me, that is all the stab wounds and the head gash. You mean to tell me that you're the district attorney and this all happening, and that you consider that a suicide? Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
So the fiance of this woman, Ellen Greenberg, his name is Sam Goldberg. He is the one that discovered her body. According to Sam Goldberg, he went to the apartment, was with Ellen the night that she was murdered, went downstairs to their apartment complex's gym, worked out for 45 minutes. When he came back upstairs, he found Ellen Greenberg and called 911. However, according to an investigative reporter named Gavin Fish, before Sam Goldberg called 911, he made 2 phone calls. Those 2 phone calls were to 2 prominent Philadelphia attorneys, one James Schwartzman and then his son, Cayman Schwartzman, who happened to be Sam Goldberg's cousins. This is where it gets weird. The family of Schwartzman, the same family that Sam Goldberg called, they have direct ties to Josh Shapiro, dating back to high school. James Schwartzman's daughter, who is Cayman Schwartzman's sister, Kimball Schwartzman, she went to high school with Josh Shapiro. Her daughter goes to the same high school or Hebrew academy that Josh Shapiro's daughter goes to now. Josh Shapiro was the district attorney overseeing the case at the time.
Oh, one more thing, sir.
To see happen, do you think there should be a new criminal investigation?
Well, look, I don't think I should speak for the city of Philadelphia and why they chose to make the decision they did. But let me just offer maybe some broader comments. First off, as a father of 4, my heart breaks for the Greenberg family. No parent should ever, ever have to bury a child. And this is a case that I inherited as Attorney General that occurred, if memory serves me, about 6 years prior to me even becoming Attorney General of the Commonwealth. And it was a case that was put on my desk after the city of Philadelphia ruled that Ellen Greenberg died by suicide, not by homicide. That wasn't my decision. That was made years prior by the city of Philadelphia. The case was then sent to the Attorney General's office for investigation. And we looked at every possible angle. There's nothing I wanted more.
Oh, one thing I almost forgot.
Tom, please
That
jump
was
in.
a
I
lie.
paused it. Yeah, Gavin made a list of the lies. There's many. Explain that, please, Tom.
The reason for that is, okay, I'm tired of hearing the exhaustive investigation they did. Did they ever interview the property manager? No. Did they ever interview Phil Hanton, who was the individual in the lobby, the security man in the lobby of the lofts? 2 individuals, agents, showed up at his house, showed him his statement that he made originally to the police. They said, "Is this what you said?" He said, "Yes." And that's all he gave. That's all they wanted. They gave him their card and he left, and they left. That was it. Okay? They didn't do a damn thing as far as their exhaustive investigation went. Okay? I want to see a copy of their investigative file. That's what I want to see. Because according to somebody I know, there isn't any copies of it at all on their report system. So where is it? Okay.
Now, Tom, fill in the blank here for me. So, Guy, who was supposed to join, and we're going to get Guy, and I'm going to try to, bring you, Guy, and Josh and Sandy, or even someone like Gavin or John Lucy from Penn Live, print reporters, back to discuss all this. But correct me if I'm wrong. Guy DeAndrea, who was at the time in the Philadelphia homicide, in the prosecutor's office for homicides, he saw some version of a case file, correct?
Yes. He found it in a closet covered up with some Christmas decorations. It didn't even have a file number on it.
And this is what you were asking to see? This what Guy looked at? Is that what you want to see?
I wanted to see that file along with the Attorney General's exhaustive investigation file. Okay? I want to see who all they spoke with. Okay? Who all they went out and talked to. Where they beat the brush, okay, to find what they wanted to find. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, Joe, please feel free to hop in with any questions at any time. But I'm going to kind of, focus in here on Tom a little bit. I'm going to keep playing the sound in a moment. But Tom, this is another thing that comes up over and over from and on. Tom, do you know the names of those who were in the meeting right after Ellen's passing, where the manner was changed? Who was involved in this decision? What do we know about that meeting? Like, when did it occur? And do we have any specifics? I know it was a closed door meeting, so we don't have a lot, but what were you able to kind of put together from that?
We could identify some of the individuals that took place in the meeting, okay? The meeting was held if I can't recall exact, 4 or 5 days after Ellen's death, okay? There were no notes made, okay, of the meeting. There were no notes by the medical examiner's office, no notes by the DA's office, no notes by the police, okay? All we know is what Dr. Osborne said the district attorney's office and the police told him, okay? And they told him, like, she was in the apartment by herself, that the boyfriend was accompanied by the security man down in the lobby when he broke down the door and all this other stuff. And all of those things are lies.
Yeah.
We proved that they were lies.
Yeah. I mean, Tom, I got to say, when I watched this, because there's a comment here, how can Shapiro gaslight us? I was truly, Gavin and I texted each other, Fish, and we're like, number one, this guy's full of lies. Number two, there's such a condescension from here where he's, kind of putting the onus also on the Greenberg, saying, it's okay for them to get people to lash out at me. There's nothing worse than burying a child. Let's keep watching here, because I know you've got choice words for him. But again, if there's any specific point you want me to stop it, you just yell out and I'll stop it.
Then to give these parents some finality, some answers, some clarity. And we received more evidence, more information during the course of our investigation that sadly didn't show what they wanted it to show, but actually rather pointed to more data, more information that pointed toward a suicide.
Excuse me, that is so much bullshit. That is so much bullshit, okay?
There's only one thing that I'm not clear about.
When you point out, okay, that an individual, a medical doctor, who is court certified as a stab wound or cutting expert, okay, who's willing to testify that 2 knives were used, a smooth bladed knife and a serrated knife, okay, after examining the autopsy report and the photographs, all right? Also, you have one of their own experts in neurology and pathology stating that the two of the wounds were post-mortem after death, after she was dead. Okay?
Tom, I've seen conflict. I've seen one wound and two wounds.
Now this guy who was Attorney General, he's standing there saying that is not real evidence. Okay? He doesn't even this guy, okay, attorney who was a township supervisor, doesn't even know the definition of real evidence.
Let me interject here, if I may.
Yeah, please, Joe.
This reminds me of every good defense lawyer telling a client, don't talk to the police. This press conference is going to come back to haunt him. And anybody, if he decides to run again for governor or try for higher office, anybody doing PR for one of the opponents could take this and then, Tom, interject what the evidence really was and run this ad. And however much, Joel, this ad drives you nuts, you should be, I think, consoled that it might be the big nail in a politician's goals to go on to office.
Joel,
it's so easy.
Joel,
yeah, Tom.
I spoke with his rabbi in Harrisburg, okay? And his rabbi tried to convince him that this was a homicide.
Wow.
He paid no attention to him. I mean, this guy puts his political career ahead of his own religion. Now, how low is that?
Quite low. And it doesn't surprise me. Was this the same rabbi? Because I know that the Greenbergs and Shapiros in Western PA, outside the Shapiro's home, they go to the same synagogue. Is it that rabbi or the rabbi in Philadelphia?
No, it's the rabbi in Harrisburg.
In Harrisburg. Okay.
Yes.
And he wouldn't, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom. By the way, before I take another breath on this, once again, people are starting to gain some traction here, but the only way to continue to help the Greenbergs is to share this. And I'm not saying that, again, for the millionth time from me, but whether it's my content, Gavin's content, Penn Live with John Lucy, whoever it is, Stephanie Farr, the Inquirer, just please continue to share, retweet, take this link, put it on social media, say, hey, have you heard about this case? This is Governor Shapiro doing X, Y, and Z. It's up to you guys. You guys are the voice of the people. Tom, there's a comment here from Starlet Satori. Why did Shapiro take all the assistant DAs from the Philadelphia Homicide Division and employed them in his Office of Attorney General, but didn't do anything to investigate for 4 years? I'm not sure that he did anything, period, but a response to that question from our chat.
You know, I had one meeting with Michelle Henry, who was his chief of staff in the Attorney General's office, and Jennifer Selber, okay? Now, Jennifer Selber was Guy DeAndrea's supervisor in the DA's office. Guy DeAndrea had to go to Jennifer Selber to get permission to look at the case, okay? Now she's in the Attorney General's office, and she's sitting there while I'm asking some questions regarding what they're doing, okay? And she's saying, you know, how this in fact is a suicide, and that they had another forensic analysis done on Ellen's computer by the FBI. And I questioned them regarding this forensic analysis, and she nor Michelle Henry, they didn't even know what an actual forensic analysis was. They didn't know that the individual, okay, when they do a forensic analysis, they clone the hard drive and they work off the clone, not the original hard drive, okay? They didn't even know that, because they asked me, they said, well, you have the computers, where are they now? Okay, so I told them where they were. and where I had them. And then when this was closing, Michelle Henry gave me her business card, and Selber gave me hers, and I pushed her card back. I took Henry's, and I pushed her card back, and she said, "I'm not trying to protect the Philadelphia Police Department." And I said, "Imagine that coming from you."
Yeah. Steve Cohen, by the way, I know you're listening. Let's reach out to the rabbi in Harrisburg. That sounds like a very interesting guest to me. And we should also obviously put a call into Jennifer Selber, Phil Hampton, and maybe, who knows, Tom can help us with some of those. Most of them are going to
I can give you the name of another individual, okay, who was in the DA's office and was then an attorney that went to the Attorney General's office, okay, in charge of prosecutions, okay, and when she learned that the state police in Philadelphia were interested in the case, she called the Philadelphia Law Department and told them not to give the state police any reports. And I have copies of emails from her where she said she didn't call the homicide people, she called the law department. Okay.
Yeah. So Tom, let me just backtrack. I have so many questions. It's going to go on for a little bit if Tom's willing to, and Joe's here as sort of my referee of common sense. I hope, but Tom, I think one of the things that I have a hard time with, but I don't think other people, is to think that a guy who's got, who's supposed to have a moral compass as a leader of a state, former state attorney general, former supervisor, whatever he is, could never really engage. Maybe I'm just completely naive. I'm playing kind of devil's advocate here. My question to you is, how complicit or not complicit do you believe that Josh Shapiro may have been in this? Was it more an issue of just turning a blind eye to justice, or is there even more there?
I honestly feel, okay, that his stance on this case as Attorney General, the reason why it went the way it did in his office is because he was interested at maintaining the vote of the police department and the city of Philadelphia in his run for governor. That's why he ruled the way he did. Okay?
Yeah, this, by the way, is true, too, from Bree. Shapiro was never a DA. I don't think he was ever a prosecutor. But, Tom, another question here. Obviously, we know at this point that the first calls made by fiance Sam Goldberg were, I believe, to Kamian Schwartzman, who then calls his father. And for those who don't know, James Schwartzman is still a powerful criminal defense attorney in Philadelphia. I believe his daughter actually went to the same high school at the same time as Governor Josh Shapiro. What can you kind of elaborate a little bit on the connection between Sam Goldberg's uncle and Josh Shapiro himself? What kind of relationship was this?
Okay, well, Jimmy Schwartzman's daughter and Josh Shapiro went to school together, and they appear on the same fundraising committee for the school. Okay, so they know one another. Evidently, there may have been political contributions made by the Schwartzman family and Schwartzman's daughter to his political campaign. Okay, that's why he sent the case to Chester County. All right? Chester County being another Democratic DA that he knew. Okay? Yeah. And that DA was running for judge and needed his support. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, Tom, Tom, I don't want to get you in too much trouble here, but I know you're old school and you're just going to kind of shoot from the hip, and I love it. When Shapiro basically recuses himself because of this conflict of interest, do you think that it possibly goes maybe a step or a half step further where, Shapiro lets people know about his relationship with Sam Goldberg's uncle to kind of say, hey, there's a personal relation, we know the family, that kind of thing. Do you think that was you?
In this interview with Brian,
Yeah.
okay, does he ever talk about the conflict of interest is the reason why the appearance of a conflict of interest is the reason why he pushed the case down to
He blames
County?
he blames it on the Greenbergs.
That's it. He blames it on the Greenbergs. He doesn't take responsibility for it, okay? He doesn't say anything about the conflict of interest, does he?
No. Speaking of that, let's keep playing this out because this statement really bothered me. By the way, my mom weighed in as a therapist and said that this, she did not buy a word of what he was saying here. Let's put it that way. Here we go.
The Greenberg family asked that we no longer consider the case.
Oh, one more thing. Gee, I almost forgot what I came here to ask you.
There. Is that true, Tom? The
Greenbergs, he never, ever talked to Sandy or Josh. Ever. Ever.
Yeah,
All
let
right.
me interject here. He didn't quite say that. Did they ask anybody in the office? I mean, that's what he's going to say. It didn't have to be direct to him.
They never talked to anybody in the office. Okay. They never talked to him.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. By the way, someone suggested this in the last show, and if someone can pull the last show and this show and do like a 5 to 7 minute mashup of Josh Shapiro talking with a guy like Tom and Gavin bringing in the counterpoints, I'd love to put that on social. I honestly just don't. I wish I had the time to do it. I don't. If someone out there in internet YouTube land can do it, I will put it on my socials and share it with Gavin, because that's a quick way. You heard Joe say that this could be used in a future political ad against Josh Shapiro. Well, why not start that now?
Right.
I'm just disgusted in this behavior. Let's keep going here. And again, this is Josh Shapiro responding to Brian Etten. Now, I think Brian did a really good job. And Brian said this on News Nation. It's very hard to do. If I was there and I had my druthers, of course, I would have said, what about your relationship with the uncle, James Schwartz, which he would have not been happy with. But it was a press conference for another event, of course. And they would have cut Brian Etten off. But, I think Brian, given another shot, will ask those follow-ups as any reporter hopefully.
Well, that's that's because he would never answer any of Brian's calls for an interview.
Yep. That's true, too. Here we go. Here's the rest.
To the Commonwealth Attorneys Act, I had the authority as Attorney General to transfer that case to a neighboring district attorney. And I did. We transferred it to the Chester County District Attorney, if memory serves me. They looked at it for a couple of years, and they found the same determination as well. There was no evidence there that supported a homicide. There was no evidence there that supported any sort of criminal charges against anyone else. And they closed the case. So over the span of whatever it's been, over 10 years, over a decade, you've had 3 or 4 different law enforcement agencies look at it and come to that same conclusion.
Right there, Tom. Whatever it's been, I think over 10 years, this guy knows every detail for the most part because it involves him, don't you think?
Yes. I mean, he does. And he's just lying.
Yeah, I mean, he's specifically being nebulous, but let me continue here.
The city of Philadelphia were the ones that began this process when they determined the cause of death. That's on them to explain why they determined that. That had nothing to do with the Attorney General's office or any district attorney's office. I'll end this.
Tell us why the laughter there, Tom.
I'm sorry, but it's like They're the bad guys, not me. Okay? Which is bullshit. Okay? He just lies and lies. You know, I emailed him at least a dozen times requesting an hour of his time to sit down and talk to him about this case. I never received an answer.
Did you get a response of any sort?
No, none at all. No responses at all.
Yeah, he's busy. You know, he's on scene, taking credit for a lot of things, but not wanting to deal with this. Let me continue to play it out. Just like another 2 minutes or so of him talking.
Yeah.
You know, where I began, my heart really does break for the Greenberg family. And I know that, you know, some, you know, maybe feel that lashing out at me in the media is helpful to their cause.
That right there makes me want to just rip my hair out. That right there makes me want. I mean, now, and Tom, we can talk about the Sam Goldberg statement, but in that statement, for those who don't know, Sam Goldberg recently sent a written statement, very carefully worded, to CNN. He is Ellen's fiance, and in that, he basically puts it all on Ellen's mental health issues, which we now know this was not a self-unaliving, but then turns the script all on him. How can people accuse him of this? How can people, you know, make his life miserable? And now Shapiro's doing the exact same thing. I just want to take that back for a second. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
You know, where I began, my heart really does break for the Greenberg family. And I know that, you know, some, you know, maybe feel that lashing out at me in the media is helpful to their cause. I'm not going to stand in judgment of them. These are parents who are grieving and anguished. And again, I think no parent should have to bury a child. Lashing out isn't going to change the evidence here. And I'm hopeful that as this process goes forward, if any new information comes to bear, that it immediately be shared.
Tom, what else do you need other than this is after the medical examiner says it's not an unaliving? What else does he need?
That's it. And to top it off, you know, I spoke with the detective for the Chester County District Attorney's Office. All right. And so I supplied him with the depositions of everybody. Okay. Dr. Galino, Dr. Osborne, Dr. Emery, okay? All of the depositions, I gave them all to him. And in the deposition of Dr. Emery, where she states that, yes, the weapon, the wound that I looked at was postmortem, and, you know, did it happen to occur after death? Yes. Okay, that was the answer. And now that district attorney's office is saying, that's not evidence. Okay. Did they talk to the security guy at the lofts? No. Did they talk to the property manager? No. Did they speak with anybody? No. Did they talk to the first individual through the door, the EMT that pronounced Ellen? No. Okay. Come on, guys. Okay. This is police work. This is police work. It's not bullshit. It's not politics. You know, it's police work. You know, these people didn't do anything. Nothing.
They turned a blind eye. Tom, I feel bad 'cause you're holding on to that phone, and but
no, and I'll tell you what, this guy, I'm just so fed up with the lies.
Tom, it's perfect like that. Just leave it. You're good. Just leave it. It's good.
I'm just really fed up with the lies.
You know, there are two different lines here as I hear it. One of them was terrible investigation, almost no investigation. The other is the evidence that runs to showing it couldn't have been a suicide. And the talking points on the latter, it strikes me, depending on where this argument is made in the public media going forward, I think need to be separate from how bad the investigation was. Because it could have been a shoddy investigation and there's no evidence that, you know, that it was a murder. That's not the case here. And when he says no evidence, it seems to me, and you just went through some of it, Tom, the items that were not considered either in, is it Harrisburg or wherever the other county
Yeah.
was, or by the AG that all show it wasn't a suicide as talking points. So whether it's a reporter in a press conference or somebody in a news story, the easier, and Joe, you know this, and I know this from what you would do with the judge, the easier you make it for somebody to who has some authority to take it and use it, the more likely that they're going to take it and use it. And so the crisper the talking points, the better. And Tom, I'm sympathetic to you. You know, you're a trained investigator, and to see people who have done a lousy job, it's hard to not keep pointing to it. And I'm not suggesting that it shouldn't be pointed to, but the other evidence that shows that the decision was wrong, they could have done a great investigation and the decision was wrong, is really the part that motivates to, you got to open it up and do it again.
Do you know the state police in Philadelphia actually put a PowerPoint together and presented it to the Attorney General's investigators on why this was a homicide?
There you go.
And they still said it was a suicide.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to keep we're going to keep playing.
And these are troopers that do homicide investigations every day of their life.
Yeah. And by the way, I think I mentioned it. Tom started the cold case unit, which I think is where he's hoping this will go to. But let me keep playing Shapiro. And Tom, are you good for like another 20 minutes? Because I want to ask you some bunch of other stuff. Okay, here we go, everybody. Here's the rest of Shapiro.
With the Chester County District Attorney and allow the DA there to, to conduct an investigation of that new material should anything come forward.
Do you think the medical examiner coming forward now, though, and saying he no longer believes it's a suicide is enough to push this forward? Now, I mean, that's a big change.
Yeah, I think that's a question for the DA in Chester County. It has to have some evidence with it, not just someone feeling different. But certainly if there's some evidence that this medical examiner has uncovered, I'm not familiar with that. I'm no longer the AG. If they have new evidence, new information, they should share that immediately. One of the things that...
I mean, he just doubles down on that right there,
Yes,
Tom.
yes. Yes. Lie upon lie. Okay?
I mean, it's and by the way, he has made it very well known that his goal in life is to become the first Jewish president of the United States. And I've said this before. As a Jewish guy, I would love that.
He brags about it. He brags about it.
I would like that. Unfortunately, that position, Shapiro, is reserved for my son. No, I'm not going to put that kind of pressure on. But anyway, let's go here. Who the hell would want that job? Here we go.
What was particularly frustrating to me when I was Attorney General is someone would have a press conference, claim to have new information. We would invite them into the AG's office, and then they actually didn't have anything that was wrong.
Now that, this is a case.
Tom, that's where he would put, I tried 10 times to go up and talk to him.
I could walk up and punch him in the mouth.
Yeah.
Okay.
So listen,
he's that's a flat out lie.
Yeah. I mean,
flat out lie.
And like the
I got
arrogance.
invited to their office for a meeting that was set up with them by a former attorney general. That's how I got in to meet him. And I didn't meet with Shapiro. I met with his staff. Okay.
Yeah.
He is so much bullshit.
Yeah. I got to hear this. I got to hear this part one more time. And then here we go.
Covered. I'm not familiar with that. I'm no longer the AG. If they have new evidence, new information, they should share that immediately. One of the things that was particularly frustrating to me when I was Attorney General is someone would have a press conference, claim to have new information. We would invite them into the AG's office, and then they actually didn't have anything that was.
I mean, Joe Patuto, it doesn't take a psychologist. I mean, this is gaslighting 101. People would come to me and they wouldn't have the evidence. I mean, it's humiliating for him. It's also that he should have stopped it. If he's going to lie, he should have stopped this statement 3 minutes ago, but now
He
he's
should
he's
not
going
have
on and
given the
on.
statement at all, period. I don't think he should have done this. This is not, let us say at best, it is not helpful to him.
And Joe,
be
how
doing
could this, if this gets to another wrongful death suit or a criminal investigation, how could these words be used in a court of law potentially?
Well, they're his statements, and if he's a defendant in the case, it's an admission by him that would be relevant to whatever, if it's relevant to an issue. Now, if he's not sued himself, it would be hearsay as to somebody else unless you could show a conspiracy or something else. There are ways that these things get in. But if somebody ever sued him, for him it's an admission. There isn't any problem with it getting in it, since it would be relevant. But
what if there was if President Trump appointed a Republican U.S. attorney in Philadelphia, and that U.S. attorney in Philadelphia directed the FBI to conduct an investigation into this because they believed there was some corruption within the Philadelphia Police Department, medical examiner's office, and the DA's office, and it goes all the way up to him.
I mean, Tom, how would we even begin to get that ball rolling?
Well, I don't know that
I would like to know. I would like to know somebody who has who can avail themselves to getting us into the White House.
Mm-hmm. What about the U.S. attorney in Pennsylvania?
That's what I said.
If but you're saying
a U.S. attorney in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I can't give you. This is not legal advice, but if there's a sitting U.S. attorney there, whether Republican or Democrat, that individual should be receptive to a claim of corruption in state or county, local government, state government, whatever. They certainly have taken cases before. The first step is getting enough publicity on it that somebody in a position to do something knows, or going to an official with the information.
I went to the FBI in Philadelphia with this years ago. Okay. And the FBI in Philadelphia pushed me off. Now, I was a former major case analyst for the FBI, and they pushed me off. Okay.
Yeah. Well, listen, Philadelphia shoulder surgeon who is connected in the city of brotherly love. She says, I got you, Tom. But on a serious note, not to say that's not serious. If anyone, and again, this is an apolitical show, but if someone can help Tom, you just heard work his way into a meeting with someone, it could go a long way. But again, Tom, Attorney General Sunday, that's his name, in PA. What do we know about him?
He's a Republican, and he's a former district attorney from York County. Okay? And I've talked to an individual who's trying to arrange a meeting with him. Okay. So we're trying to get in to sit down and speak with him.
Okay, that would be good. At the very least, let's start there. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask, do you know if anything has moved since last Monday on Philadelphia taking another look at the medical examiners, the cause of death on the death certificate?
No, I don't, doctor. I haven't heard anything.
It's Joe. I'm calling you Tom. You better call me Joe. Otherwise.
well, there's a new medical examiner there. A lady from, I think she was from Florida. I'm not sure. But she's in the office now. So it would be up to her on, who they were going to, and what everybody should, everybody forgets. Remember the Inquirer article that Stephanie Farr did, the initial one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember, the Philadelphia Inquirer, okay, contacted the Montgomery County medical examiner and had him take a look at the case. And in his findings, he said the least he would have gone with was undetermined. The least, okay? And that was the Montgomery County medical examiner.
So can you get on Joe Rogan?
Maybe.
I wish I could.
Well, I would give it a whirl. If you want to get public attention fast.
You know what,
wish I
Tom?
could.
I know his producer, Tom. I mean, via email. So you and I can
wish I
craft
could.
you and I can
Because, you know,
craft an email.
I'm sorry, but you know, in Philadelphia, when I was interviewed there in the hall, and they mentioned Shapiro, I just I couldn't help myself with the vulgarity, but you know, I shouldn't have. I'm not like that, okay? But this guy, okay, I'm sorry to say this, I despise him, okay, for what he's done to this what he's done to this family, and what he hasn't done with his office and the power that he had. You know, I'm so offended by it that I just can't see straight.
Yeah. By the way, Tom goes to show you there are good people in the world. Again, pro bono. You know, he had no real skin in this game, and here he is fighting for the Greenberg. So, for all the bad in the world, you got Tom Brennan's out there. Believe it or not, he's not done talking yet. It's almost over. Here's the rest of Shapiro.
Particularly new, and they use the media to keep the issue alive. I understand why parents would want to keep this alive. I understand why they would want to find answers. I wanted nothing more than to be able to give them the answer.
I mean, just gaslighting, condescending, lying with impunity
That they wanted.
Yeah.
But when you're in the role of being a prosecutor, you have to follow the evidence, and we never saw any evidence to.
For you folks
being a prosecutor,
media,
you got to follow the evidence. Go ahead, Tom.
If it wasn't for you folks in the media, okay, keeping this case alive, you know, we would have never gotten where we got. Okay, so far.
Oh, just one more thing, sir.